Margaret Fain, Senator Lawless.
This is my first opportunity to address the House since the very disappointing decision by Apple to scrap its plans for a data centre in Athenry in Galway. I can tell you, even from my brief discussions with the business community in the US, this has generated a real negative feel factor about the investment environment in Ireland. I am deeply concerned that, having invested so much political capital in Europe to protect our corporation tax rate, we have lost sight of other key pillars of what investors are looking at when they are thinking about entering or expanding in the Irish market. Clearly, our planning process, and within that our court system, have proven a total and absolute barrier to economic development. This is not something that can be simply shrugged off or seen as an isolated case. When a major brand like Apple takes a decision like this, it resonates in boardrooms right across corporate America, and I'm sure further afield. We are constantly competing with other similar-sized and larger-sized countries who seek to emulate our model, and the investment community needs to see this government respond in a meaningful way. There are many lessons which must be learned from the Apple case that, in my view, are not as complex as perhaps some seem to make out. The most important one is time. It took 6 months for Galway County Council to approve planning for the data centre, which in my mind does not seem an unreasonable length of time for a project of this magnitude. What happened after that is so deeply disappointing, however. It took a full 12 months from the appeal of Galway County Council's decision to a board plan order to be determined, and that appeal upheld the Council's planning approval. It then took 14 months from that decision, which was challenged before the High Court in the Commercial Court, which is supposed to be a fast-tracked court for Mr Justice McDermott to deliver a judgment which again upheld the original planning approval. It took a further 7 months after that decision for the Supreme Court to decide only that it was willing to hear an appeal. This means in total, from the formal planning application to the Supreme Court decision to admit the appeal a few days ago, a total of 3 years and 3 months have elapsed. Quite frankly, this is some kind of a sick joke of a system for an economic development of this nature, and I don't use that language lightly. There has been a lot of talk about the objectors and their vested interest or otherwise, but in my view that deflects from the central issue. One of the largest brands in the world, who employ 5,500 people here in Ireland, choose Ireland for a further almost $1 billion investment in our planning and legal system, despite upholding that everything which they were intended to do was completely lawful, took 3 years and 3 months to deliver their decision, with a further one potentially pending if they had decided to stick around. I don't blame Apple. Why would any business stick around face another 12, if not 18 months, after an almost 3.5-year debacle? I recognise the government have announced changes so that major infrastructure projects will go through a board plan order first, but it was that body that actually took 1 year in the Apple case, whereas the Council actually took 6 months. I equally recognise the announcement by the President of the High Court in a practical direction issued in February this year that Mr Justice Barneville is especially assigned to exclusively deal with all applications for permission to challenge decisions concerning strategic infrastructure developments. This is welcome, but I equally question whether this goes far enough. Suppose a person challenges what is thought to be a quicker decision made by this new specially assigned court. What is stopping the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court causing further delays, only to later uphold the original decision when the investment may have gone? In the United States, it is very common in certain state courts, including appeal courts, for specific deadlines to be imposed when a court has to deliver a judgment. Why can't a similar system be introduced here for certain cases? Similarly, if all major infrastructure projects are to come directly before the board plan order, why can't we mandate specific maximum timelines and then impose similar timelines for the High Court, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court? The global investment community needs to know that we want their big capital investment projects in our country, and they need to know that the shambles of Apple will never be repeated. I am deeply concerned that this message has not been conveyed, and we need more innovative thinking that will offer investors absolute certainty that we are a country that remains open for business. And finally, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate our 2 new senators, Senator Marshall and Senator Lawler, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.